I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons plus 1.5 at the Seattle Seahawks. Look, we're going back to the Falcons again for the third straight time. They're 2-0 against the spread, but they're 0-2. So I still think you get a really good effort here. And I still think they're being undervalued by the market. And I think the Seahawks are the worst team in the NFL besides the Texans from a roster standpoint. This team has nothing. And I think people still have that game against Denver in their mind from week 1 when the crowd was going crazy. But Denver, all kinds of problems we've seen the first 2 weeks. And they moved the ball at will. I mean, go look at that box score. Denver just kept turning. They couldn't get it at the 1 yard line. Denver should have won that game by 20 if they had a brain. And, last week, Seattle gets absolutely destroyed by San Francisco. They can't do anything but complete 2-yard passes. They can't run the ball right now. That's how you have to attack this Falcons defense. Falcons strong at the corner positions. That's great here against Seattle. And the Seattle defense is just void of talent. They're so young in the secondary. Jamal Adams is no longer there. He was kind of the piece that you wanted in the box for this new defense that they don't have now. And this Falcons offense is just underrated from a talent perspective. The offensive line is a little questionable, but that's where Mariota's mobility comes into play. And this isn't a defensive line that's going to get a ton of pressure. Maybe one of the worst in the NFL, if not the worst. So I think Mariota will have time to make plays with not only his legs, but with some plus matchups that Atlanta will have on the outside. And I just don't trust Geno Smith and these receivers to beat the Atlanta secondary enough to get this done. I talked about this all year. I think the Dean Pease defense will be underrated all year. It usually is in year 2. I think the Falcons go into Seattle and pick up this outright win. I think they're undervalued. I think the Seahawks are just dreadful, and I'll take the 1.5 points on the road.
Yeah, there's a couple of games like this week where it's just 2 bad teams squaring off, and I just don't think people know what to do with these games. But I take the points here. I mean, the best thing the Seahawks have going for them is the 12s, in this matchup. I think that's really the only difference at this point, and that's why there's 1.5 points of spread between them at all. Because really, outside of that, I agree. I think the Falcons have an edge at quarterback. I think the Falcons have an edge on defense, even though they're a bad defense. And I think, looking even at the skill positions, because you could always point to Metcalf, Lockett, who had a great game, by the way, last game. But now the Falcons are getting Drake London into it. They still haven't unleashed Kyle Pitts, and they're getting Cordell Patterson. They're using him creatively as well. So, there's just not a lot differentiating the 2 teams, really. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of taking the points with Seattle here. I mean, let me say again. I'm all in favor of taking the points with the Atlanta Falcons here.